Okay, this is step 2 of preparing your print, your self-portrait to be printed, okay? So what I did was, in the previous video, I showed you how to edit your portrait in Photoshop. I actually ended up printing out 3 versions of the same picture just so you guys could see the process. So something like this, you might like that stark contrast, but you do lose some detail. Especially like in the eye area, the hair, like you lose this ear completely, and that might be a style or a look that you like, and that's fine. But for demonstration purposes, I'm actually going to use the color portrait for this demo. Okay, so I'm going to take a piece of what is this, 9x6 tracing paper. It's like a half sheet of tracing paper. And I'm just going to place it over my portrait. I don't have masking tape here, but you guys would use masking tape. I'm just going to tape this to my paper so it doesn't move. Okay? And then I'm going to use pencil. If you want areas to be really black and you want them to come through really well, use one of the ebony pencils. Make sure it says ebony and it's one of those like silvery pencils. But a regular, number 2 pencil works just fine as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start by filling in the black areas, sort of outlining what I want to be black, what I know is going to be black. And you can actually use cross-hatching. Actually, the first thing I should do, is connect my little printer marks that I had printed, so that I know when I'm ready to line this up with my linoleum block, I know where the edges of my print are. So I'm going to just quickly draw those in with my pencil and ruler. So I'm just connecting the printing marks, just corner crop marks. Okay, so there we go. So in areas like under the chin here, you can see that there's midtones. There's highlights on the cheekbone, highlights here, midtones, darker shadows on the side. So you can actually do that by cross-hatching. So I might say I'm going to do some black lines here, and then some darker black lines. So, it might look something like this. There's his eyebrow. But then there's that shadow here. And this can be kind of loose and sketchy because you're going to fill this all in black. But you want your lines to sort of accentuate the face. Like, look at the direction. That sort of feels natural. Something here, I'm not going to do solid black, because that's under his chin. Do a little bit. And then, around here, and I'm going to pick this up and see, can I see where his shirt goes? Yeah, it's kind of here. So this would be solid black. And that's his suit jacket, like the shoulder. Okay. So something like this, if you want to have that detail, think about how you're going to fill that in. So maybe you cross-hatch a little bit here, leave some lines that are kind of white. Do you want that little flag pin? You can leave that in, leave that white. So it's up to you. So I'm going to just kind of do like a white outline here around his lapel and keep filling that in. And it's up to you how much detail you want in this image. So I'm just going to continue working on figuring out what's going to be black and what's going to be white in my portrait here. I'm going to switch my pencil because this one's getting a little bit dull. but delicate features on the face, like you might not want to fill them in solid black yet. Start with the darker areas. His hair is going to be kind of tough because he's got dark hair on a dark background. So just keep kind of flipping to figure out where that hairline is going to be. Okay. And if you have trouble seeing, you can always use the light box to help you. So something like this, in this image here, we completely lose all the detail of the ear and the side of the face versus the darker background. So something like this, you could decide that, you know what, I'm not going to fill my background in black. I want his side of his face to be black, but I want my background to be more crosshatched. So you could do that, so that there's some difference there. But crosshatching is a good way to create value in a linoleum block print because you're using just black and white, but how do you create variation in value? So depending on how you carve away the material, you can create the illusion of midtones, dark shadows, highlights, etc. So you're going to look for all the important features here. There's this hairline. Okay. And this is all going to be black too. In here. And I'm going to kind of use my pencil to go in the same direction that the facial features go in. And see, I'm not going to color this in solid because I want to remove some of the material in here just to create some variation. Go in here, do the tie, and see there's a texture, sort of a pattern on the tie, and you can do, again, as much or as little of that detail as you want, but it might be nice to have some of that there. There. I'm just going to assume that's where the collar is. I can't really tell, but that's all right. Okay. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to remove this from my original photograph, and I'm just going to look at it, on a white background, and does that look okay? Does that look doable? Can I carve that out? If there's anything you want to darken, do that now. But once you're here and you feel like you've got a pretty good handle on what's going to be black and what's going to be white, you can transfer this to your linoleum block. Okay, so again, we have the linoleum, and to transfer this, I'm going to just take off this tape so it can get in my way. Again, you flip this so it's graphite side down, line this up, my block is actually a little bit smaller than 6 inches, so I'll just kind of center it the best I can. Again, you can use your thumb nail to sort of burnish it on, or you can use one of the bone folders to transfer your graphite. Don't move it, but you can pick it up and peek, and that's transferring really well. So I'll just keep going like that. And again, peek, missed the spot there. And you want to get all the important lines without moving your paper, of course. And I gotta get the mouth area. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so now you have your graphite transferred to your linoleum block. Now would be the time to grab a nice Sharpie and go over your drawing again, because once you start carving, all that graphite is going to smudge. And yes, the Sharpies do get all funky. They get gummed up with the graphite. You can try to wipe them off on like a scrap of paper. But start to fill in everything with Sharpie, especially the important stuff. You know, like the background I wouldn't worry about too much. Just get the outlines done. But the really important stuff and the details of the face, you definitely want to get Sharpie on those, because like I said, as you start to carve and your hands get all over everything, they're going to start to smudge. Okay. Well, that's cross-hatched over there. So again, everything that's black is what's staying. Everything that's white is what gets carved out. This Sharpie's on its last legs here. But you guys know the drill from the last printmaking project. But that's the basic gist of it. And now would be the time to begin carving your block. So again, you would need a bench hook and your linoleum cut tools. Again, when cutting, you want to start with the number 1 and start to outline all your shapes. Okay, I don't have a bench hook right here, so I'm going to do something very unsafe, but I'm going to go ahead and just start doing this. So all the white here is going to get removed. So I'm going to carefully outline around my portrait here, and I'm just removing the white right outside my hairline here. And then I'm going to carefully remove in here and so on and so forth. Okay, so you guys are going to take your time with this, be really careful, and you should be using a bench hook. I'm being a bad example, but for something like here, you know, I want to carve out the white of the skin here. Okay, the white area here. Okay, so that's removed. Go down here a little bit. I'll carve out the collar. And now I want to cross hatch. So I'm just going to you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you're going to just start to sort of scratch away the material. And then you'll see what that looks like when it prints. But you can cross or just hatch. Hatch is going in one direction. Cross hatching is obviously crisscrossing. But what that's going to do is create a different value for that area. The closer the lines are and more overlapping that they do, the lighter it's going to be. The further apart they are, the darker it'll be. Okay? So that's what the cross hatching would look like when you start to carve your linoleum block. You know, and you can see what that looks like into the area where there is graphite. Okay? So that's the basic gist of it. When you know, I outlined this little shape in the collar. If I'm ready to, I could switch to a larger blade to remove the material. If you're going to plan on doing a lot of cross hatching and a lot of subtleties, you probably want to stick to the small blade for the majority of your work here. But that is how to carve out your self-portrait. So when that is all done, then you will go through the same process as we did before and ink it and print it. And this one you guys will get to experiment with colors and different colored papers and all of that sort of thing. So make sure you guys review the instructions, the written instructions that are posted in Google Classroom. And when this is all carved out, I will be ready to print. Okay, and that should do it.